What about if our soul is not lost at all, but it is simply walking between chapters? Today, I want to talk about something. It seems simple, but at the same time, it is very misunderstood. The idea of a lost soul. I think we all heard about this phrase very often. Sometimes we even say it about ourselves. She is lost. Or he doesn't know what he is doing. And sometimes we say it to ourselves, I feel lost. And usually when we say that, there is an assumption underneath that something has gone wrong. The clarity is missing. The direction should already be there. And if you were doing something in your life properly, you wouldn't be here. But I want to pause with this idea for a moment and try to turn it around gently. I was thinking, what if the soul isn't lost at all? What if it is simply between directions? What if this state we label as confusion is actually a transition, waiting for a new chapter? There are times in life when the old identity has already dissolved, but the new one hasn't arrived yet. You are no longer where you were, yet you are not ready to name who you are becoming. And there's no clear label, no neat explanation, no sentence that fits easily into conversation. And from the outside, this can look like drifting. But from the inside, something very different is happening. There is listening, reorientation, and also a quiet internal movement that still hasn't announced itself yet. It is not about laziness, avoidance, or even failure. It is rerouting, rerouting, finding a new path. And sometimes, most of the times, I think, rerouting, it doesn't look like impressive. It doesn't seem productive. Very out of the world from the other people's eyes. And most of the time it is so slow, we can't even detach it ourselves. But I do think this slowness has its own intelligence. Before something grows upward, It often grows downward first. I am also thinking about my path when I left everything behind in Italy and started to travel in America for 3 years, drifting from place to place. And people just can't understand why you are doing that, why you want to be alone, traveling by yourself, without family, without friends, in places you are complete strangers. What about the danger you may find? What if something happened to you? Who is going to help? We live in a world that is much more comfortable with certainty than with truth. We like clear rules, clear identities, and explanations. What do you do? What is your plan? And what are you working towards? And when someone can't answer those questions quickly, or we simply don't have the answer, the discomfort begins. I had no idea why I just got away to travel. I didn't know what the end game is, what the purpose was, and how long I was going to stay away. And people just thought I was simply crazy. Depression. After all these years having a role so fit, so stable, why you want to give up everything? Ambiguity, uncertainty is very unsettling. When someone is in between the others, they are rushed to name it for us. They call it lost. They call it confused and unstable. And that not necessarily means they are unkind. It is just because that is something that makes them feeling uneasy. So they put an image on you, an identity, a story. And once that story is in place, they relate to that story, not to you. So I was that lost soul for them. And even for people that I met in America, many of them were saying, why you want to leave a place in Italy so beautiful and traveling like a nomad? And I don't have the reason. It's not something I must do. I simply following my own intuition. The identity, it was so fit, so stable. It felt constrained, too tight. I couldn't breathe. And this drifting without purpose. It was my space to rediscover the person that I was lost. The me that I have forgotten. So when people don't understand, they simplify it and misname it. A person in transition can trigger all kinds of projections. These remind others of path has not been taken before, of courage they have always postponed, and questions they have never tried to answer themselves. So even without saying a word, your presence, my presence, can become a mirror for them. Not because I intended it, or I was doing anything wrong, hurting anyone, but change, even the quiet change, reflect some things very deeply, and not everyone wants to look at them. So instead of asking, what is happening here and can I help? Is there any support I can give? Sometimes just a kind word would be enough. It is so much easier for people to say, she is lost. He is drifting. They have no idea what they are doing. This gives their mind something solid to hold on to. How accurate it is, it really doesn't matter. And this, in a way, is the part we don't always talk about. Because this transition, this shifting, is not only inward. It is real, and with lived consequences. So when people relate to a version of you that no longer exists, connections become fragile. You may notice friendships fading, not necessarily through conflict, but distance. Conversations change, interests shift, and the silence grows louder and louder. And you feel that you are becoming unfamiliar to them. Not because your values has changed or you rejected anyone. It is simply you are no longer fit the role they once placed on you. And this can be painful. And this is lost real loss of friendship, of connections, of family members that were once so dear. So when relationships end, friendships dissolve, some people, they simply step away without explanation. And take care. Not because you have done something to harm them, but simply your growth make them uncomfortable. I think it is important not to romanticize this because it hurts. It feels lonely, unfair, and grief. But I want to remind you once again, it is not a sign that you have done something wrong. It is often a sign that movement has occurred. I lost most of my friends in 30 years. People didn't even send me one message asking where I was, how I was doing. During those years, I was traveling in America. Did I ever come to their mind? It really doesn't matter. This just shows you who are the real person, real friends, real family. And so, from my heart to yours, there is something very human. I want to say it here. Not everyone is able or willing to face their own mirror. So when your life evokes that mirror, people have choices. Some have curiosity. Some grow bravery themselves, so they can walk alongside with you into the unknown. But a very big but, there are many others. They simply cannot. So they leave. Some of them leave quietly. Some so very sudden. Not even a word. Because if they stay, that would require them to question themselves in a way they are not ready for. And I don't think it is a failure on either side. It is a divergence, a change in resonance. If you are in this place now, my friend, if part of your life are falling away, if old connections no longer hold, I want to say something clearly. Take heart. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You, my friend, are in a threshold. And thresholds, they are sacred. Don't rush. Don't explain. Just cross it. Slowly, quietly, even without witnesses. It is the deeper alignment forms. It is where the unnecessary layers fall away, and letting space for something truer begins to take shape. Doesn't matter if you can't name it yet. And there is a poem from my book, Mary Magdalene Speaks, that I express how to live in the same space. It is called flow. Flow. I am the dove. I am your dove, a messenger of the unseen, a whisper upon the wind, calling you beyond the veil. The road ahead is long, an invitation awaits to surrender your fate, not for tomorrow, not for someday, but for this breath and this now moment. Blessed beyond measure, held in the hand of the divine. Courageous, every step is an initiation. Every challenge is a doorway. Every sorrow is a craving of wisdom into the soul. Each lesson is sculpted in joy or pain, a sacred gift. A graceful dove descends from heaven. Nothing has been in vain, not a single tear, not a single wound. At 0 point, the threshold of infinite possibility, the past dissolves. A new adventure, a future unbound by fear. When all veils are lifted, we shall meet in the radiance of truth. In that reunion, tears will fall freely, the sheer beauty of remembrance. We were always meant to fly, to rise beyond the weight of the world, to flow like the wind, to fight of the soul. I am the dove. I am your dove, to soar with you into heaven. And this poem, it speaks about movement without certainty, trusting an unseen currents, to release control and explanation. My friend, allow life to carry you forward before clarity arrives. The soul is not hiding, it is simply moving quietly without a fixed form. And I want to read these lines to you again. Courageous, every step is an initiation. Every challenge is a doorway. Every sorrow is a craving of wisdom into the soul. We were always meant to fly, to rise beyond the weight of the world, to flow like the wind, to fight of the soul. So, when we reach a kind of peace that comes when we stop trying to correct others how to see us, when we allow people to be wrong about us, no arguing, no defending, and without shrinking ourselves. Some chapters are not meant to be explained, and some paths are not meant to be justified. And so some losses are simply part of the cost of becoming more honest with ourselves. So we don't need everyone to understand, because our lives is valid as it is. You don't need approval for the direction to be real. You don't need to stay small to keep connections that no longer fit. Sometimes the soul isn't lost at all. It is just walking between worlds. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Genevieve.